Fear. Fear can start as a spark in your life and soon blaze into a mighty fire. It can consume us, preventing us from moving forward. Don't let fear run your life. It will consume everything good in it, just like a wildfire consumes everything in its path. Just take it slow, one step at a time. Free yourself from fear. Face it head on. Liberate yourself from its shackles. After all, fear changes nothing. Fear is inbuilt. You just can't help it. When it comes, just let it flow in and out it goes. This is a story about a boy who lived a long time ago when people had to hunt and gather in order to survive. The boy feared going into the forest for the fear of wild animals. In the story, we learn how he was able to conquer his worst fear. A long time ago, in the Mto tribe, there lived a boy called Toto. He lived in a small hut together with his father, mother, and 5 siblings. At the age of 7, Toto was required to accompany his father to the forest to hunt. There was only one thing that was preventing Toto from fulfilling this tradition. You see, he had an extreme fear of the forest. He had overheard people talking about the dangerous animals that were found in the forest. He could not imagine himself going to the forest, even in the company of his own father. Toto's father was the best hunter that there was in the village. He knew everywhere, every path that was to be found in the forest. In Mto village, the men would gather very early in the morning with their swords ready for hunting. They would hunt all day and come back in the evening with the day's hunt. When the boys reached the age of 7, they would accompany their fathers in order to be taught how to hunt. The fateful day had arrived, and Toto's father told him to be ready very early the next morning in order to accompany him on the hunt. Toto felt as if his heart had dropped to the floor. He could feel perspiration gathered on his forehead. The fear of going into the forest was so great that his body froze into position. Toto's mother was observing his son keenly, and he noted that Toto was absolutely scared of the hunt. He called him to the side in order to find out more. She asked him, "Toto, my child, are you okay?" Toto replied,
"No, ma'am, I am not okay. I am so scared of going into the forest."
His mother asked him again, "Why are you scared of the forest, my son?" Toto replied,
"I have heard of so many terrifying stories of the huge wild animals that kill people."
Toto's mom then said to him, "That is understandable, my dear. When I was a small girl, I saw another girl who had been burnt by fire on her leg. Her wound was very painful, and it took a very long time to heal." She continued, "This made me fear fire so much. I didn't want to go near fire, let alone cook. My mom tried to convince me. She tried to ask me for help in cooking, but I would cry and refuse to go near fire at all costs. One day, my mother went to the next village to visit her old mother who wasn't feeling well, and I was left in charge of my younger siblings. Come night time, my mom had not returned, and my siblings were all crying due to hunger. I had no choice. I had to cook for them, or we would all sleep hungry that night. On that day, I faced my worst fear. I was terrified of fire, but I cooked anyways. I did it while shaking, all the time afraid I would burn myself. But you know what? I didn't even get the smallest burn. On that day, I realized that the only way to conquer your fear is by facing it head on. I still have a little bit of fear when I'm near fire, but it doesn't stop me from cooking, does it? Tito's mother reminded his son that his father was the best hunter in the whole village and would never ever let anything happen to his son. By now, Tito was feeling a little better after listening to his mother. He said to himself, "If my mother can conquer her fear of fire, why not me?" Very early in the morning the next day, everybody had assembled ready with their swords. Tito's father had given his son a little sword for practicing. Tito's hands were shaking due to fear, but in his heart, he encouraged himself with his mother's words. The only way to conquer fear is by facing it head on. The hunters set out for the forest. Inside the forest, the trees were densely populated and there were very thick bushes. Tito could hear the birds chirping and smell the musty smell of the forest. He was more amazed than fearful. This was proving to be quite the adventure. On that day, the only dangerous animal that they came across was the snake, and his father told him that if he didn't bother it, then it wouldn't bother him. The hunt went well. Tito's father showed his son how to hunt, and even Tito tried it for himself, capturing a small animal. As the hunters went home, Tito was very proud of himself. It was true. The forest was full of danger, both known and unknown, but he faced it head on and survived. We all have something that evokes fear in us. Do not ever let fear stop you from doing something. Courageous people have fear inside them, but they don't ever let it stop them. They just face it head on. Take the step today and face your fears.